Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you are, whenever it is, you're back with the Why Do Boys Make podcast. I will be your host this week. I am Fitzy, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host or my co-boaster this week, Corby. We sit together atop the league. How do you feel?
Hi, Fitzy. I'm feeling fantastic. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I am concerned, though, that nobody will be able to hear us from atop the standings.
That's right. You're going to have to turn up your volume way down there, everybody else. Corby, who knew that all it took to get good was to just make a podcast that forces us to pay enough attention to the league that we have to go 4-1 or else we be the subject of ridicule. Luckily, we're the ones with the mic and the first and second place standings. So since we are clearly not the Joker, let's not make any jokes and move straight to how we did last week. First game that we're going to be recapping was Tyler versus Eric. Eric swings the victory. Corby, why don't you start off with the breakdown here?
So Fitzy and I both pick Eric here. Coin is going to pick Tyler. Tyler, I don't know who Jameis Winston is. What I do know is Austin Hooper is dog shit. So you need to figure something out about him. Eric, I also know Derek Carr is who I thought he was, but I also know that Jonathan Taylor is also who I thought he was. Another great win for you, my friend.
Oh, man. Yeah, I had the same note on Tyler's side. His tight end, put up a stat line that I don't think I've ever seen. The elusive 0 reception, 0 receiving yards, 2-point conversion game. An impressive feat for a team that's, ready to break back out. But back on Eric's side, here we proved why the human mind is superior at high-level analysis when compared to a simple coin. The projections may have favored Tyler, but we knew that Eric's team would reign supreme. Jonathan Taylor is a star, but outside of that, just no major scrubs, just a solid win by Eric, and he's going to look to keep that rolling, bringing him up to 500.
Our next matchup, we had Chris Colby versus Colin. Colin pulling off the victory. Fitzy and I both picked Colin, and the coin picked Chris Colby. Let me lead this off. Chris Colby, I could talk about your running backs all day, but I'm going to attribute this loss to Kyler having a down week. Colin, is this the greatest Monday Night Miracle of all time? It really brings me back to the time a couple of years ago when Mike beat me in a Monday Night Miracle with Jeremy Langford on a 2-point conversion. These are the victories that fantasy football is for. It's just magic.
I'm going to break out of my podcaster persona for a second to just talk directly to the fans. I wrote my show notes here during that game at halftime, and I circled that Chris Colby had won. On my screen, it still says Chris Colby wins. So I'm just going to read what I would have said had Lamar Jackson not put up something like 35 points in the second half. Here we proved why the human mind overestimates itself as we lost, and the coin's wisdom proves that human confidence is folly. A couple of mid-matchup team name changes tells the whole story here as one team exists erect and the other leaves with a big poopy diaper. I actually wrote, should have started Davis Mills over Lamar Jackson and Kirk Cousins, I guess. And I just wanted to read that in its entirety because this really was not just a Monday Night Miracle, but like a second half of the third quarter on Monday Night Miracle. Like for those that stayed up for it, a thriller here to give Colin, not Chris Colby, the win. Next up, we're moving on to Adam, taking on Chris Cloud. And Chris Cloud gets the win here. Corby was on Adam's side, 15 the coin, both with Chris. Another example of a team name change midstream moves Adam over to I suck at fantasy football and I eat shit. An obvious reference to the story from last season. Corby, do you remember this?
Of course, that woman came out and said that OBJ liked to get shit on.
Exactly. So I actually consider the team name slander. Chief Keef's baby mama, Slim Danger, said that OBJ likes to be pooped on, not in. Adam continues to show a tendency to look at headlines over truth. I just can't explain this. Now, on the other side, Chris Cloud hit a ceiling this week, but I think it could be a repeatable ceiling if you're okay with Nyheim Hines as your team's running back too. I don't know if I am.
I agree on the sentiment on Chris Cloud. Adam, you didn't even have a bad week. You scored 170-something points. Like Fitzy just said, I am enjoying the journey that OBJ is taking you on with your name changing. And Myles Gaskin, you definitely disrespected him by sitting him, although in turn it was the right play, to the point where you rage traded him today. Next up, we've got Corby versus Brandy, where I was the victor. I picked myself, and the coin and Fitzy picked against me. Fitzy, why don't you lead this one off?
God damn, man. This was one greasy matchup. DJ Moore disappoints. AJ Dillon scores less than Aaron Jones on your end. And then so much to be sad about on Brandy's side, with Trey Lance being the worst of their QBs. And even that guy only put up 14 points. So it's not like the other guys were doing okay. They were all bad. Andy was on the bench. So that's the worst part. Your top QB was on your bench. Your bench defense put up more points than your starting defense. That's one of the worst feelings a fantasy manager can feel. But with a nosedive comes a bounce back, and you won't be playing Tom Brady and Truster Goodfield every week. So you've got a shot next week. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to that, Brandy, I'm really jealous that you are getting Hollywood Brown during the breakout season that I expected last year, because he is so fun to watch when he's great. Bad break. Your schedule is going to lighten up next week. On my side, Justin Jefferson is my new warm blanket. I love owning Tom Brady, and
Buster Badfield
had his first multi-touchdown game of the year. So great. Next matchup, we've got Chris P versus Fitzy. Fitzy was the victor, and everybody bet against Fitzy.
And I don't know if I'd change that. I mean, listen, we all had Chris, but I had 60 points on Monday night between Michael Pittman and Mark Andrews. That's not going to happen every week. But my second win this season that came down to the second half of a Monday night game. So it was a thriller. Looking at my team, not to roster bait here, I have this one hole that I should just fill with Tim Patrick every week that Judy is out. But every week I psych myself into playing some other bum. It was Brandon Ayuk this week. And man, like, for me to be scoring the most points in the league so far this year, it still felt fluky.
Yeah, I had the same thought as you. You need to put respect on Tim Patrick's name. He's the best wide receiver in Denver, without a doubt. Also, Trey Sermon is not sneaky good. He had one carry for 7 yards.
Good average.
True. Like you said, though, holy shit, you had 240 bombs on your starting lineup, and I didn't even notice until I checked it out. Chris P, I hope better days are ahead, but AJ Brown has been absolutely brutal this year. You do have Mike Williams, which in my mind is probably the best pick of this entire draft so far.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Final matchup from last week. And again, I'm glad we're saving it for last. Mike versus Taylor.
The toilet bowl.
Taylor gets the win, and Fitzy and the coin were both on him. Corby took Mike. And I'll just say the heel turn ends right here. Mike, I am sorry that this keeps happening to you. But, you really should have started Zach Wilson last week.
Come on, dude. What were you thinking?
No. So, Taylor, you're clearly not pissed last week. A pissed off Taylor would have scored more than 115. But you're about to be pissed if you don't grab Geno Smith off the waiver wire. Not to date the pod. This is obviously going to be old news by the time this drops. But if Goff is worth Eckler, how much fab is Geno going to be worth?
Mike, you scored almost 100 points less than you did last week. You're done. Taylor, you've got one QB coming up next week. Here we go again, baby.
Songs have been written about this, history repeating itself. So to close out the week, again, on my screen in front of me, it's saying everyone went 3-3. Not the case because of the Monday Night Miracle. Fitzy and Corby both eke out 4-2 on the week. The coin goes 2-4 to bring our final standings thus far to Fitzy at 18-2, Corby at 15-5, and coin falling a little bit back down to 14-16.
Yeah, I've got some ground to make up here, but I'm still keeping it a little bit close.
Oh yeah. We'll see if we're on the same side of some of these games as we move on to breaking down week 6. First up, we're going from last to first this week. Mike Bakanowitz taking on myself and Corby. I want you to start. Help me break this one down. Who you got?
Well, because of the shape that Mike's roster is in, we are now dealing with a pissed off Mark Ingram. In all seriousness, though, I am excited to see who you pick up for tight end now that you've got Dallas Goedert on COVID list and he's playing on Thursday. Fitzy, give it to him good, my friend. I'm picking you.
So this is how Mike's run in fantasy football ends, huh? I'd like to take a moment to read a small fantasy eulogy for my fallen comrade. Mike, Or should I say the man of many names, also known as Latrice's Butt Darts, Rashad Penny, and The Cleveland Show. It's been a tough ride, but let's face it. Since this league went to double-digit team members, you've only made it to the playoffs one singular time out of 7, and this year is trending toward 8. Your one time in the playoffs that span, even that was noteworthy as you faced Adam, who only scored 118 points. You put up less than 100 points that week, my friend. A fun fact on that loss, you lost by 20. Todd Gurley on your team scored 31 points the week before and 34 points the week after, and only 8 when you needed him the most. This should surprise nobody listening, but Mike started Zay Jones and Josh Reynolds in a playoff game. And his starting defense, the Rams, scored 3 points, while he had Khalil Mack and the Chicago D on the bench putting up 20. The bad aside, you've never come in last place and never really come close. It's been tough to say that this could be bad luck after all these years, but since 2016, Mike, no team has had their opponents score more points than you. Now, you're 7th in points for in that time frame, but I mean, Tyler's just ahead of you at 6th. Nobody thinks he's a season away from rage quitting fantasy. So, Mike, I would like to lay forward that you are indeed good, but unlucky at fantasy football. And what better measure of success in this league than playing games? Mike, there is a strong argument to be made that you are the best player in this league, and I have a single stat that can prove it. As far back as my data goes, back to 2015, Tyler has had 5 team names, Eric, 16, but nobody, and I mean nobody, has come close to having as many unique team names as you. I don't have midweek name changes, and I know you've got plenty of those, so this number is severely understated. But the way I see it, you have had 47 unique team names, over 6 changes per year. So I would like to propose not a eulogy, but a moment not of sorrow. I'd like to propose a toast. Cheers to 2 Girlies 1 Cup and Brocktober. Cheers to the Tomb Raider and Chicken Gordon Bleu. Cheers to Call the Ambulance and Matt 1 Point Jones. Cheers most of all to you, Mike Bekonowitz. Fantasy football wouldn't be the same without you. Where were we? Oh, right. The pick'em. Yeah, I'm going to beat Mike. His team's trash. And the coin agrees. Coin picks Fitzy. Moving on to the next matchup, we've got Tyler taking on Adam.
The battle of the Big Y boys. Fitzy, do you think that there's any bad blood from their stint working together at Big Y?
Absolutely. Blood on the floor, blood on the walls. It's the deli after all.
Yes. So we've got a couple of storylines here. We've got Tyler with 1 quarterback. We've got Adam. Good luck with Alan Busterson. Hopefully the turd on your bench hasn't cursed you. I'm taking Adam.
Ooh, boy. Adam really benched OBJ, huh? But if Tyler doesn't get Geno Smith, he's going to be in trouble this week. He's down a quarterback. Adam's side has Zach Moss, who, quick sidebar, was a healthy scratch in week 1, but keeps scoring more points than Devin Singletary because he's the 3rd down back and the goal line back. But anyway, I assume I'm not alone here. I'm taking Adam this week. The coin's taking Adam this week. It's another round of Adam.
In our next matchup, we've got Chris P versus Eric. Fitzy, why don't you lead us off here?
I'm actually going to kick it to the coin who likes Eric. And now I'll give my breakdown. This is where you make your season in fantasy. One of these teams is going to go 500, and the other one's going to drop to 2-4 and be closer to desperation mode. Chris P's team is in a little bit of red fog. Chris Carson, Sterling Shepard potentially missing a 3rd straight week. But Eric's got Kittle on IR, and he just got hit by bye weeks, missing Calvin Ridley and Cordero Patterson and Marquez Callaway, who I won't be slandering any further. Eric can crawl back from this, but I think it's a loss, and Chris P gets the win here.
I'm in agreement. I'm taking Chris P here. Eric, you've got a lot of people on bye, hoping to see some pickups after tonight. Chris P, I hope you start Dawson Knox this week, and I hope you drop Sammy Watkins.
Oh, I hope so too. Moving on to our first Chris Bowl of the year. Finally, Chris Colby taking on Chris Cloud. Corby, why don't you kick this one off?
I had the same note as you. I'm very excited to see which Chris will reign supreme. However, I think this is going to be a Chris Colby victory, a revenge game for the Monday Night Miracle.
The coin is on your side, and I hate to keep such an intriguing matchups analysis so narrowly focused, but Chris Colby's projections here seem accurate. Kendrick Bourne, he's on the Patriots, by the way. When I made that bet in the chat, I actually thought he was on the 49ers. But anyway, he's probably going to score about 7 points. Rondell Moore, sure, 9 points could be a little bit low, but that feels realistic. But on Chris Cloud's side, there is no universe in which the Indianapolis Colts are in desperation comeback mode against the Texans and call upon Nyheim Hines to score 15 points. That's ridiculous. Give me Chris Colby all the way here. We've got a lot of groupthink on the pod because the coin is with us on Chris Colby here.
We have picked all of the same matchups so far.
Well, let's see if that changes with Corby versus Colin. The Diaper Bowl. Colin's team returns to full strength with Christian McCaffrey coming back from injury. But will it be enough? Corby sits atop the standings for the second week in a row, and I think you make it to 3, my friend. I'm rolling with Corby.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts. I mean, there's no way that Davis Mills can burn my defense 2 weeks in a row, right? I don't think it's possible. Last week I had the Patriots. This week I've got the Colts. Let's see what happens. Colin, I hope you start Marvin Jones again because that guy fucking sucks. And I love when he doesn't score points. However, is it CMC time? I guess we'll find out. I'm taking myself, Burger Boy.
And you were right. We have stopped the string of groupthink. The coin wants Colin.
To end the week, we've got Brandy versus Taylor. How many question marks are on Brandy's team right now? We've got Trey Lance, who can't play because he's on bye. We've got Myles Gaskin, who's just now joining the squad, trying to make a lasting impression on Brandy. Brand new team name even named after him. Also, team name is really excellent. I just want to mention that. Other than that, is this the get right game for Brandy? My gut tells me yes, because there's no way that you're starting some of the people that are currently in your starting lineup. You need to make a move. And I think that you do, and I think you'll pull it off. Taylor, good luck getting Gino, because you won't.
First of all, the coin is with you on Brandy. And so we said at the top, I want to cover this real quick. We said at the top that we sit alone atop the standings. And that could come off as slander because, yeah, Taylor is 4-1. We're both 4-1. I looked at that and I was surprised. Wow, Taylor's 4-1. He's currently in third place with the third fewest points in the league. And if he does not get Gino on his team by Wednesday, we're in big trouble mode here for ACLV2. So, Corby, I'm going 3D chess because at first I was going to pick Taylor because his wide receivers really are just so much better. No offense. I mean, Allen Robinson, leaving the team can't help Brandy. I still believe he's going to be good.
I think it helps. I think he sucks.
But I think that Taylor looks at his record and decides, I don't need to panic. So give me Brandy as a bet that Taylor does not get that second QB. Corby, did we just pick all 6 of the same matchups?
We did. Yes, we did.
We're about to go 0-6. I can feel it. That does not bode well.
I feel like a couple of coin contrarian plays are going to come into effect here. We will find out. Excited to see.
And I'm also excited to make a couple of bets, Corby. It's time for Bet of the Week.
Let's recap last week's bets. We had Jet Falcons over under 4.5 field goals attempted in that game. I win for taking the under here.
Yeah, no, we had 3 field goals in the first half. I was so excited that I texted Corby, how you feeling? Only 1 attempted in the second half. Yeah, go Jets, I guess. So on the next matchup, we had Josh Gordon, snap count, over under 20%. He fell to 9 snaps. That's 10% of the Chiefs total, and Fitzy wins that bet.
Well, to quote my favorite song ever, whoa, we're halfway there, baby. Just wait till this week when he plays 50% of snaps.
I feel a bet coming up.
For our next bum bet that we added, we had more receptions rest of the season, Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders versus Hunter Renfrow and Brian Edwards. We had 1+3 versus 6+2, where we're giving Fitzy the early rest of season lead.
Yeah, it really came down to Renfrow catching more than, as many as everybody else in the list combined. Hunter Renfrow is so good. I'm happy with that.
No kidding.
Speaking of bum bets, fun one here. Quick check on the rest of season, or our full season bets. Josh Gordon ties up our original bum bet at 11 total yards with Le'Veon Bell.
This is the best. Like, Nothing will top this.
I hope they both get cut this week and we tie at 11. That would be the best outcome.
I agree. I love it. I think it's great. We've still got a dead tied heat with Jalen Waddle versus Brian Edwards with 0 touchdowns each. In terms of CeeDee Lamb versus Amari Cooper, Cooper still has a lead heading into week 6, 80.8 to 73.33.
I'm just really happy that that's close. Like, that's going to be one that we both sweat out for the whole year. That's great stuff.
Hey, I'll be sweating out the Jalen Waddle one as well.
Moving on to this week, Corby, I've only got one for you.
Okay, well, I've brought 4 to the table, so why don't I lead off with 2? Then you can get me with it in the middle. Sure. We'll make a little Fitzy sandwich. So let's start off with this one. I bet that Jonathan Taylor will have more fantasy points than Christian McCaffrey if he plays. If you don't want to take Christian McCaffrey, you can pick any running back you want.
I see no reason not to go with Austin Eckler. Corby, you've got yourself a bet.
My next bet. Someone dropped tonight after waivers will be picked back up before the Sunday games.
Oh, man. I feel like the answer is probably. Let's go with this. Do you think that any fab will be spent on the person who is picked back up? Over under 0.5 fab dollars spent on people dropped tonight.
Yeah, I could see that.
Corby, we love making bets. This is really just for us. This will be resolved by the time the pod comes out. But our 2 QBs are facing each other on Thursday night. And I'll bet that mine scores more fantasy points than you. That's right. I think that the GOAT, Tom Brady, will score fewer points than Jalen Hurts, a.k.a. the Runny Badger.
No fucking way, dude. Give me that bet all day.
Lock it in. Lock it in. I feel great about this one.
My next bet, Fitzy, doesn't even pertain to either of us. We love to make bets, like you said, but I've got another friend who likes to make bets. I bet that this weekend, if Mike plays daily fantasy sports, that he will not make any money.
We're going to go say net, obviously, right? Like if you buy a $10 scratch ticket and you win $2, you lost $8, right? Absolutely he will. Absolutely he will lose money. Okay. I don't want this to be the Mike Slander podcast, but I'm not taking that. Mike, I'm not. No, I'm not taking that bet.
All right. Let me end with this one. A game will go into overtime this week. I will take either side of this.
I don't know if it's recency bias, but I feel like it just keeps happening. So I want to say yes, there's going to be an overtime. We're saying from Thursday to Monday or just the Sunday slate?
I would say Thursday to Monday. Or if you want to limit it to Sunday, that's fine too.
Let's say Thursday doesn't count because that's boring for the listeners. So okay. Sunday or Monday, game goes to overtime.
Okay. I don't think that it will.
All right. Lock it in. Got a couple of good bets this week. All right. Next, let's head over to the mailbag. And Corby, why don't you start us off with the forced comment?
All right. Let's lead off with Adam. He comments, forced. However, after I read that comment, I then noticed another person named Adam began to comment, starting with, Fitzy, that's so much seltzer, and then commenting again with, Lance Lynn is the GOAT, that's why he's my profile pick. I began to question just who this other Adam was. But I wasn't the only one asking questions. No! Adam 2 then replies to Adam 1 and asks, who's this guy? So then I did some digging. First into Adam 2 because I felt more confident. He seemed like a more personable and constructed complete sentences. So, digging in, I found some videos on Adam 2's channel which appear to be clips of him gaming. Now, here are the facts. Number 1, I know Adam is a gamer. Number 2, I hear Adam's voice in these videos. And number 3, Adam was playing with friends who I know share the same names. So, unless those are also fake personas, this was all beginning to add up for me. Then, I went to Adam 1's page. No videos. The only thing on their channel was a playlist called Sweet Alex G Covers. Now I know Adam really likes Alex G, but what I don't know is if Adam likes covers. So, after I did some more research, I have determined that these covers are in fact sweet. So, in conclusion, I think that the Adam in our league is Adam 2 and Adam 1. I invite you to an interview so we can figure out who you really are.
Investigative journalism is back in the Why Do Boys Make Podcasts podcast league. I'm interested to see if Adam will respond or if Adam will respond. Next up, Colin writes in and says, I am so honored. I have never boned Boo Samuels, but after this monster season he's having, I'm going skull speed ahead on him next year for a very spooky team.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Next up, we've got a first-time commenter. We've got Chris Colby. He says, very Chris heavy week for the coin. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's something that we probably should have made a note of, that the fact that the coin just seemed to love Chris's last week. It is also responsible for 3 of the coin's 4 losses last week, which I would love to see Chris Colby turn around this week. Next up, Mike chimes in and says, I think a fun player to own would be a full season, healthy, of Raheem Mostert. But to me, that's like saying that you want to own Lance Lynn in fantasy football. A healthy Raheem Mostert just doesn't exist in 2021, and it won't exist in 2022.
I would just like to rub it in your face, Mike, and say, I did own him when he played a lot. And let me tell you, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, and I would really like to thank Mike for answering the question of the week last week. Last week was a bit deterministic, let's say, where you were asked to give an analysis. This week, I want a bit of free association. So this week's question of the week, if your fantasy football team were a food, what food would it be?
Cotton candy, because I'm sweet.
My team would certainly be a 32-pack of Polar Seltzer, because we're bubbling straight to the top of the standings. This concludes episode 6 of the Why Do Boys Make Podcasts podcast. A bit of a shorter episode this week, but look forward to next week when we've got a long, multi-part, back-to-back interview with Adam 1, maybe Adam 2, and our friend, Colin. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Please, for the love of God, smash it and subscribe. I'm Fitzy.
And I'm Corby.
And gamers, game on!